Tazindam az can kaniyam nest rehai shirini man shirini man khidmat farhad tu daram bedil to baman hai chmdaran namude bedil to baman hai chmdaran namude umrist ke paase dile nashad to daram umrist ke paase dile nashad to daram. Welcome to the Hazara Pioneers Library on Amunji Strategy at Mechidtv, presenting chapter 26 of A Vizier's Daughter, a tale of the Hazara War, 1891 to 93. Much of the story so far has been focused on the character, the prodigy of this tale, of this novel by LILLIAS Hamilton, Gul Begum we are talking about. She has been experiencing, and we have been taking part in this cultural heritage, Mirasi Farhangi, intangible cultural heritage. Type it up on Google and find out what that means. A story, a memory, some kind of immaterial connection. The remnants, the diaries, the tales. That's why we are talking to the Nosago and Bakulo and Ajego, wherever you may be in the world Hazara communities. Chapter 26, A Patient Wife. Zani Khub. And so Gul Begum's fate was settled. بعد از اینکه میر گفت مرا تیرزی یخود دیونه ای آمد در خانه چیف سکرتری. Duty start. تقدیرش فیصله میشه. For 40 days had passed, a little stranger had made his appearance in the chief secretary's house. که یک نوزاد در خانه چیف سکرتری تشریف میره. A little stranger who cost his mother her life. Ki بعد از او مادرش زنده نمونه. And his father, devoted attendant and sympathizer, if not companion in our acceptation of the word. Nor did he live to repay what he had cost. A few hours and خود زوم نمومنه. اولا بیش فوت نه بسم زوزاد. یعنی دو موت دیگ وقت. A few hours after she had breathed her last, they laid him by his dead mother's side. During her illness, the services which, when she had been well, it had been her special privileges as well as her duty, according to Eastern notions, to perform, seemed somehow to fall naturally upon Gul Begum. Ala har kar ki marbut ba zubut, reze karay khana, tamam shi da shane Gul Begum mufta. Who else, indeed, digaki the nazartu, was there to perform them? The children's nurse, dayago mekhasti karar anjam bide khone mitunist. There were two other tiny children beside the little stranger. Ukhu nawzad amat khuraft, mislik begana ali. دودن از اوستو دجیل پاش من ده یتیم اونا را خو بس دایگو باید نگاه کنه این خانه را کی نگاه کنه سر سنبال خانه را کی جور کنه. The ladies' usual attendance was also in hourly requisition. ما دیک وقت خاص کار خو انجام میدن مرفتن شاو نبود اونجی. Either to take the new baby or to massage and soothe her suffering mistress, little delicacies and nourishing dishes were constantly required to tempt the failing appetite, to strengthen the poor, failing patient, so even the cook's hands were more than full, according to a Kabul servant's way of thinking. یعنی یک نفر کاملا باید آشپزخانه نگاه کنه. 1000 داستان من خانه. Thus all the ordinary household work fell on the slaves who did everything in an uncomplaining, listless, unmethodical way as untrained servants without a mistress are sure to do. आली वो कनीज़ा वलामा मसरूफ़ा कारगरा की मतलब खाना रजाम करने मगर वो ना मतलब फ़कत उर्दूंज बिल में तेरे जारुगा को तेर शू खुना मुझे कि तू दिल खाना बसते ही और खाना रा काशाना जोर नहीं दराव वो जाना खुराफ़. And the master for whom they were not as a rule allowed to do anything never entered their minds. هیچ وقت چون که او آقا غلاما را نگفته که شما کار انجام بده همیشه زن خور گفته بوده الونای نمیفهمه که چی لازمات داره چی رقم کنی قدزی او انتر دشت منده یا خو غمی دو جهان بلیش افتیده کمر زرمایده کده دیگه دویم کسی هیچ خبر نیه که چی رقمی خدمت کنی اویلیبل نیه کارخانه تپ منده اونو منجی. The cook cooked his food, of course she had always done so, but she had now no time to bake the bread. لیکن نان پخته کدو کار از نبود و مکار خانه جام ده ریال نان منده دیگ تیار نان نیه درهم برهم. Her services were not constantly required for other things, so the bread was to be fetched from the bazaar. آلی نانی بازاری میره خانه. The bazaar bread was heavy. گرنگ بود and moreover the flour was not pure. آرچو اصلا اصلی آرد نبود. Nia. Amialem Nia. The chief secretary did not complain, but he did not eat it. This doesn't nandra. So Gulbegum baked the bread. Yamat pesh did ki sahib na this nazda for nana pahtakada out pesh. She did it well, but her master made no comment. The bread the day before had been uneatable. Today it was good and excellent. When he had finished his meat and vegetables, he sent for some sour curd. Guft kam dogh berin berizmat trush. He only did this when the bread was fresh and light. فرمایش dogh وقت مکد که از نان خوشم دباشه. نان خوب پختش دباشه. نانی خشک. قرمه قدنان کی مخرم مگش کم شلون بیایرو بریم. یعنی که خوشم دانان. And the slave who made it, who had waited on him as he ate, knew this and felt rewarded. همیشه می کاری که مکد بزمو کسی خدمت کرده باشه احساسی اطمینان مکد که والا خوب شد صاحب نان روز نانش خوشم داده. At home her father would have praised her, or if much preoccupied would at least have patted her on the head. گلبیگم خو وقتی کار انجام میده خو همیشه عادت چیه که او همیشه پدرش میگفت آفرین دخترم این می رقم نان پختن آدم منتظر بود که نال کسی بگه مگر او صدا خاموش وجود ندارد یا اگر خیلی پدرش مصروف بود که زود که مرافت بیرون دست بلی سرش میکشید. Here the master never asked who made it. پرسان نگد که من نان کی جور کرده بایی. Some slave. That was all she was now to the master of the house. What had she to do with recognition? تو یک کنیز هستی، تو یک غلام هستی، تو از خود هیچ حیثیت نداری، تو چیزی ما بگیم آفرین به به، تو هیچ حق نداری تعریف و تشویق. If things were bad or put out of order, the slaves were to blame. مگر اگر چیز سر جایش نشد او باید مقصر کسته امین باشه مگر وقت تشویق وجود ندارد. When things were good they were as they ought to be. خب سه دیگه می کار شما میه دیوتی خود انجام دادین چیز مال تشویق کنم شما را. The slaves had done their duty, that was all. She was one of the many and had no separate identity from the others. وم یک کنیز دیگه باقی مثل دیگه کنیز آوری چیکار کنم آفرین بگو مرا. The chief secretary was a most religious man. خیلی مذهبی عقیدتی according to the ordinary accepted standards. به حسابی روزمره. But with his religion there was combined a good deal of superstition. یعنی عقیده های خیلی زیاد غیر زیکی بود. روز خیلی مذهبی بود عقیدتی هم خیلی زیاد بود در مختلف چیزها حتی که وهمی هم بود. Which deprived him of much sleep and much time that other men spent at leisure. دوتر فکره و اوهام و وهم پرستی مبتلا بود که اصلا خو استراحت نداشت. یه مرتی که زیر فشار خیلی. He never omitted to say his prayers 5 times a day. نمازی 5 گانه در سری وقت. That much was the duty of every true believer. خب هر کی ایمان داره خب بازو انجام میده چیز خود دیگه. That is the expected standard. To do less than that was to deprive the Almighty of his rights. تو اینجا حقی خدا را در آداننی. To prove the creatures a defaulter in the service of the Creator. که تو مقروزی یعنی قذبلیز تو فلان 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 اینا تو انجام بدی چون که تو نماز قضا کردی. خدا خیلی ناراحت از عبارت. But the chief secretary did more than that. Besides his compulsory prayers, he generally and always in times of trouble, especially the وقتایی که خیلی حالشی نازک بود, rose at 12 o'clock at night to say an optional prayer. نمازی مستحبی. A prayer that was not a positive duty, wajib nabud, farz nabud, but the repetition of which, so he believed, brought certain special blessings and favors. ثوابی بیشتر، رحمت‌های کلانتر، اینا از نماز شب ببرایه. It often brought about the fulfillment of an earthly desire. یگان چیزی دیگه خواستی که داشته باشی خداوند ضرور قبول نوره. Or if that were denied و اگر خواهشتان پورا نشد, it at least produced a special recognition to the will of the providence. او ده حسابی ثوابشی جمع شد. خیر این دفعه تور نمیدم مگر جمع منم برید خو. Whatever that will might be. او بعد ده آینده باز معلوم میشه. So now that his wife was ill, his household all upset. خب بنابراین در وقتی قبل از اینکه بمره خیلی مریض ممنوع. تازه زیده چوچم مریض حاله خودشی خیلی حالش خرابه دیگه خانم تر بیتره هیچ معلوم نیه حساب کتاب. This midnight prayer was, as it were, almost a necessity to him. یه خود دیگه هرگز چیز امکان نداره که قضاش نهی نماز نیمه شب. Heaven's gates must be besieged if necessary. دروازه های آسمان را باید تق کنیم. That the Amir's chief secretary might be spared the inconvenience of a disorderly household. خداوندا این خانه ما را در ترتیب منظم بفرما دیگه. Please. The disaster of the death of the chief conducer to his creature comforts. I wish you would get strong. خوب باشی بخیر. He had said plaintively to his wife one morning. یک صبح میتر بخیر خوب باشی. It is very hard on me. خیلی سخت مگذره ولی مرا تنها پرتا نکو. This prolonged illness of yours, especially hard in this, that there is no one I can trust to wake me for my midnight prayers. خصوصاً که کسی نیست که مرا بیدار کنه نیست بشاوره namaz shab. Last night I never woke till 4. Bishaw 4 baje ma bidar shudam. I did not return from Darbar till after 10 o'clock. Kheli der amadum, shaw as Darbar pas amadum, and so I was tired, I suppose, and overslept myself. دو خستگی ایج تا 4 بجه ایج بیدار نشد. دیدم که نصف شب تیر شده. خیلی حالم خراب شد. This has depressed me very much. You know, I always feel happier and more satisfied when I have said them. اما شاو که من نماز شب میخوانم صبح خیلی دل باد اطمینان سر پشت کار میرم. It did not strike upon this gentle lady's ear that selfish sentence, it is very hard on me. توجه نداد زیاد که گفت خیلی بریم سخت تر میشه و خاطر تو چیکار نه چرا جور نمیشی تو. So it could not ring there to produce tears and misery. She knew it was selfish in sound chiefly. An English woman, LILLIAS Hamilton عالم एक चीज़ दरबारे ज़ानहाई शर्क़ी हिंदी अफ़गानी चीनी मसलन ईरानी अरब इना व English woman नदरा मुक़ायसाना. An English woman would have said, do try, love, and get better. I cannot bear to see you like this. I miss you so much. The Eastern put it more baldly. He did not think it necessary to conceal where the trouble lay, nor did she expect or wish it. She was missed. How can I help? Falani. Inshallah ki khub mashi bakhair. Tu chal jor na mashi tu. AMIR khayna ek chand thora. Ziyada detail na moran. She was missed. Her services were wanted. ظاهره دیگه و خونی تمام کارا بند از خاطر از چقدر لازم باشه که زود جور نه. The sick woman flushed. It was a flush of pleasure. همه تر گلاس دلش خوش شد کم. I shall have ease soon. زود آرام مایا انشالله. She said. And so she had. واقعا هم که آرام یافت. But not here, on this earth. آرامش ابدی. That night she had a curious dream. She told her husband of it next morning. I dreamt that I lay dead. She said, and that you sat by disconsolate and knew not what to do. Nor even where to bury me. حیران مندی که امیر خسنا مفهمی کرد کجا چا کنم ما. You had never even dreamed that I was going to leave you. And as you sat thus and wept, one came and whispered in your ear. یک نفر آمد در گوشت گفت bring her beside me. اینی پالوی از من دفن کو. Just behind my tomb, a little to the left, there is just one space left. Take her and bury her there. And there shall her body rest till the great day. Tarozi, Qiyamad, the final day when God shall judge the earth. And looking up, you saw the figure of the saint who is buried on the hill. بس تو بالك سايكد كي كيا ديدي كي بزرگ كي بالكو كي دفنيا اونمو رتو رويش ديدي just below Sultan Muhammad's monument. Tailoi Yadgari Sultan Muhammad. But he turned and went away before you had time to address him, and I awoke. Was raft tatu mekhastik chiz bugi ki raft man bedar shudam. Did you see the face of the Hazrat Sahib? The chief secretary asked uneasily. Yes, that I did quite plainly. And husband, just as I saw, so I believe it will come to pass. And that you will bury me there on the hillside, by the road, the Sarira, along which you must pass every time you go to meet a friend from India, every time that you go home to see your place. پشت کارم کی بوری طرف دوستای خام کی بوری خانه بایی همیشه از پیشی مقبره از مدتیر شنه. And I shall take that, my dear one, for thus will my memory be kept green, and though you may take other wives, and though they may serve you well, perhaps, yet I shall not be forgotten. The chief secretary's head was bowed. He had not anticipated this. He had said his midnight prayer that very night, namaz shabam khanda bud, and had besought the God in whom he trusted that he would not only preserve his life, but would restore her speedily to health and strength and her usual place in his establishment, and he had believed that these prayers had been accepted. ودي فكر كما نماز شب چقدر زاری زواکدم خداوند زود صحت سلامتی بدی یه خویی ترخونه مشه دیگه هیچ کار شد. He already enjoyed the usual comforts of his home, and now she told him that there was no hope of any such thing. She had seen the dead man's face. She would not go well. The very saint on whose name he had constantly repeated portions of the Quran, कि the नाम यज़ू वलीउल्लाह की बुजुर्ग येगो पीर व मुर्शिद की the नाम यज़ू सूरह कुरान ख़त्म गिरफ्ता बुदा, and to whom he looked to make special intercession at the throne of grace, कि the दरबार खुदावंद शफात कना इनारा अंजाम देता बुदा उन्मुब बुजुर्ग. That very saint had visited her in her dreams. And had, so to speak, beckoned her to his side and had shown her where she would be buried. Nay, wife, he said, it was but a dream. I myself will go to this very saint's grave today, and will see what inspiration come to me there. I cannot believe that God will reject my prayers. One of the slaves woke me last night at 12, and I stood before him a whole hour. Yak Sadi Kamil ma istabadam da darbari Khudawan zari zwakadum duakadum in rapt contemplation and adoration. But the sick wife turned on her side. And as she turned, she smiled. She knew her work was done, and that she was going thence on the last long journey that man is called upon to make. Next day, her spirit had fled, Ruh Parvaz Farmuda, and on the day following that, she was laid, as she had said, behind the saint's grave. A little to the left, in the last empty spot within the enclosure, dazu sahni mazar, dam yak jay qabr ki mandat, zani bisyar khubi chief secretary ra dafn mane. The chief secretary was in his own way a domesticated being, yak mawjudi khanagi. He was overwhelmed with grief. He had not loved his wife passionately, had indeed at times taken but very little notice of her, but everything beside the ordinary routine of the daily life disturbed him, and he almost preferred a bad thing he was accustomed to a new article he was not in the habit of using. His home was his home. No other pleased him so well. No other was so well arranged to suit his convenience. His walking stick was his stick. no other fitted so comfortably into his head. So his wife had been his wife. Others might be more attractive, more acceptable, more highly educated, but no other woman knew his ways so well. زن دیگه کجا جایزه گرفته میتونه علی که قدر شناخته تمام زندگی. No other could suit him so well. یعنی دنیایش از دیش رفت خلاصه. هر چی که بود توا و برباد شد. حالا هیچ نمیفهمه که چه رقم خانه رو من نگاه کنم. همه چیز انتشار. This loss made him inconsolable. این غم علی از دل زیبور نمیشه. He was very busy man. He had but little time to devote to domestic affairs and enjoyments, but now that she was dead, had gone away and left him, he knew what he had lost. خب بیزی من تمام روز درباره دفتر نوشته فلان چیف سکرتری هر چیز باید زیر نظر از نوشته شونه فهمیده شونه امر باید انجام شونه و ریپورت پس ده امیر داده شونه. خویی ده خانه ایده مفهمید که چی رخانه چی رقم فقط مگفت جانی منی رقم کو جان چون رقم مگد از ریزه تا کلان کار را مفهمید. How all these little wishes had been anticipated, his little comforts looked after and considered, and he would have given all he possessed, even his hardly won and much coveted position, to have been able to recall the unrecallable, to bring back the past. يعني مرة تيرم زي مقام أمي پس باید أمي زنزما. فقط ما دم خانیق زندگی کنم دیگه هیچ چیزم نباشم. The quick, unassuming creature whose life had been spent in unobserved, apparently unappreciated obscurity became now a person of paramount importance. زنی که یک روز نگفتی تو مثلا تشکر ازی مهربانی ازو هیچ وقت تو سنش سیل نکردی فقط اما خودپسندیز خود تو بوده که من چقدر آرامش از ما آرامش خاطر از ما در نظر گرفته باشه خب خیلی مگر عالی که نیو یک دفعه خیلی محترم جور شده دیت 24 ساعت دیت ادیل دیت. The world seemed to have died to the chief secretary in her death. He had no wish to live. یعنی کاملا از بیخ خواهد کده این مرتکه نه چیف سکرتری من ده نه آدم من ده هیچ کار نمیتونه اصلا راضی به مرگ شده. He entirely neglected his business. از کاربار ماندی دفتر تب and never left his house for 30 days. ده عزای دیگه مرتکه except to pay a daily visit to his dead wife's grave. فقط اونو منجبور یک فاتحه بخن پس خانه بیا. Or if her lifeless clay could have been sensible to all this, what joy would not have been hers. دزی امید که شاید مرا میبینم که ما چقدر خوش دارم چقدر مایم چقدر واینم اینجی چقدر که ما دلم تنگ شده تو کجاشتی تو. What compensation for the loss of life, mere life indeed. But all unconsciously to himself and quite unnoticed, there was an unobserved hand that was smoothing over the sad event for him. ای خود حال خود نمفهمه مگر خانه درو ده یک ترتیب پیش رهیه. یک دست های مرموز ده کار اینجی. His ordinary creature comforts had indeed been attended to from the very first, clumsily perhaps according to his fancy, or at least not in the accustomed way, but still attended to. معمولات روزمره‌شی از ناشتهش گرفته تا لباسش هم ترتیبشی شده رهیه داره. اگرچه او قدر نه که او زن مکد. Ho, there, is there no one who will give me water? همینجی کس نیه که من را بیده. He had cried one night as he tossed on his bed in restlessness and fever. خب تاو گرفته. Oh, no. Oh. There was a gentle movement outside. شور خورده بود چیز. As of one who sought for shoes. مثل کسی در رو میخواه چپلکای اخپای کنه. And presently a woman's voice said, Agha, here is water. Are you ill? I cannot sleep. He said, I'm so hot. And all my bones are aching. And I am so very And after a pause, something like a sob, how I wish that I were dead. The girl said nothing, but knelt down beside him, gently pressed his back and shoulders in the soothing way that Easterners understand so well. Then his arms and his feet and then his head. Gradually he tossed less, and became more comfortable. The clock struck 2. He was asleep. And at sunrise, he was still asleep. But she did not awake him for his prayers. He must have rest, she thought. But with the ingratitude of man, he never noticed her. Never for one moment dreamed that his earthly, selfish petition had been heard. که خودغرضانه دعاهای زندگی میشب که خدا ایترکو خون مور کدره خو بگیر دیگه نه اصلا نگاه نمونه کیوره درو تیمارداری نه. And granted, though not in the exact form that he had expected. هر چی که تو می‌خواستی آرامش می‌خواستی خانه ترتیب پیدا کنم به نظم نشونه خوان نه دو رنگی تو می‌خواستی خو نشده زیرنگش توم خوش نی. For behold, a lamb was caught in the thicket, ready to be sacrificed. اینجا یک برگک برای قربانی آماده and willing too. از رضای خو گلبیگم had found her master. تصمیم گرفته که and willing, glad to be his slave. علی گلبیگم از صلاح خو میخواه که آقا را خدمت کنه. Chapter 26. My dear Nosago and Bakulo and Ajego, I hope ki shumo shishta bashi nami diga qissa darshim rajda. Intangible cultural heritage. One of those stories, a paramount wish of mine and other friends, ki enemy story LILLIAS Hamilton bayad درسته ki stories اصلا وجود نداره ما هو دری و فارسی هسته جناب جواد خاوری نامشی گرفتش نباید که از پشت کوی قاف را ما کتاب شده اقلا 20 سال پیش که دیده بودم است البته در انگلیش که یک داستان را ما چند سال پیش که خبر شدیم گفتیم نیت کردیم که یک روز آنامونجی Mechidtv ای deliver مشه و خاور که دیده بودیم در تعبیر مشه and I hope that you will start dreaming, start seeing the visions, listening to the ancient stories of your forefathers, going deeper to your roots. And that hopefully is a sense of duty to all of the Nosago and Bakulo, because Bakulo are Ibrat. They have been through war and migration entire their lives, and they are now left unattended in the corner of the room. I hope not, because Hazara loves community. That's how we hope so. And it is not easy to maintain a community in the days of when everybody is into themselves. Everybody is chikar kada, everybody is shisha dar bagal. Who is going to look at the Bakul and who is going to listen to the Bakul story? Because everybody is interested in their own now selfishness. The bazar ziyadam da, that's why we are talking to the Nosago, which is the start of the circle. Yeah? Like this? Maybe, yeah, like this. Whatever, a circle, a beginning and end of a circle. and that circle goes straight in there with an outward question, which we should always ask ourselves. Do you know what the question is? It's better. What is the rest of the question? That's right. Exactly. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Haikido. No Rosawa.